And now over on the other side of the Capitol, we're pleased to be joined by Congressman Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat of Maryland, a member of the House Democratic leadership. And Congressman Van Hollen, we're hearing in the previews of the State of the Union that we're likely to get some proposals for new investments, which of course means new spending in some targeted areas. What's the sense on Capitol Hill? Is it realistic to think that you could get new investments on education, on technology, say, on job creation in this current fiscal and budget crisis?
Well, the president said he wants to pursue two paths, and one is, of course, to get jobs moving again in this country. Obviously, we've come a long way from when the economy was totally in the tank. The economy is finally growing again, but we still need to get more people back to work, and that's going to be part of his focus. At the same time, he says that we need to put our country on a fiscally sustainable path, and we absolutely need to put together a plan to do that. But as part of getting the economy growing again, we need to prioritize our investments, and yes, we should be investing in R&D. Most economists will tell you that in order to compete in this day and age with countries like China that have a huge investment in clean energy technology and R&D, that we would be foolish not to be making important investments in our national infrastructure. At the same time, you absolutely have to put in place a plan that will reduce the deficit over the longer run in a responsible way.
Okay, so Congressman, let's talk about the immediate issue that's coming before you guys now, which is what to do about spending for the rest of the year. As you know, the Republicans are coming out saying bring it down to 2008 levels for the rest of the year. It means about a $50 or $60 billion cut that Paul Ryan is talking about that. Do you find that feasible? If not, do you see a need for any cut for the rest of the year?
Well, first, we don't know what number they're going to produce yet. There was talk of $100 billion, now it's $80 billion, then it's $60 billion. So let's wait and see what number they put on the table. But what I think it's very important to understand. Well, let me just say this. The continuing resolution that we're operating under right now is consistent with the numbers that the Bipartisan Deficit and Debt Commission assumed for fiscal year 2011. They warned that it would be bad for the economy and bad for the jobs to take deep cuts in fiscal year 2011. So if we can come together and identify some productivity gains, some efficiency savings, obviously we should do that. But we need to remember that the continuing resolution we're operating under right now, which expires in March, was already significantly below the request from President Obama and even below the recommendation of the nonpartisan Deficit Commission. So let's do this in a prudent way, not in a way that actually slows down the economy at a point when it's very fragile and actually kicks people out of work.
Do you think that the president obviously has had a bump in poll ratings over the last couple of weeks and months? It's been a good period for his presidency. Do you think he has kind of the goodwill that you'd need to push a program like this that's not just endorsing spending cuts, which a lot of Americans are in favor of, but saying we have to do more than that. There are some areas that we need to increase spending. That's going to require quite a bit of political capital.
Well, I do think the president has a lot of goodwill at this particular point in time, and he has reached out to Republicans on Capitol Hill asking them to join him in this effort. And I think one of the clear tests will be whether or not, the Republicans in the House and the Senate are going to be willing to compromise a little bit themselves as part of this effort. The president has made clear that he's coming to the table with an open mind to try and resolve some of these issues. We'll have to see whether the Republicans are in the same place.
So your counterpart on the Budget Committee, your Republican counterpart, Paul Ryan, will be delivering this response to the State of the Union address. Do you give him some credit for being one of the few up here that has put forward a plan with his blueprint that would actually eventually get the budget into balance?
Well, first let me say I have great respect for Paul Ryan, and I look forward to working with him on the Budget Committee as the ranking member, and hope we can find some areas of common ground. Yes, he has put forward a plan, and I think it's one that should get thoroughly vetted and discussed. I have some very serious concerns with part of his proposals. I think as we move through this debate, it's going to be incumbent on both sides to put ideas on the table. I think the closer people look at that plan, the more concerns they're going to have with it, especially as it relates to changes in Medicare, because it changes entirely the nature of the Medicare program. Instead of a guaranteed benefit for seniors, it It gives them a voucher of declining value over a period of time and, you know, says you're on your own with the insurance companies. I don't think people are going to want to move in that direction, but we should have a debate about that and other ideas that come to the fore.
We need to ask you, because this is the question on everyone's lips this week, do you have a date for the big dance? Do you have a Republican partner that you're planning on sitting with tomorrow night?
Well, as you mentioned, the dating game is in full swing down here. I was going to talk to Paul Ryan about getting together, but since he's delivering the response, I'm not sure whether that will be possible. So we'll look for another partner, possibly.
What is going to be different
maybe you could
about
help Michelle Bachmann out a little bit.
What's that?
Maybe you could help Michelle Bachmann out. She's going to do the response to Paul Ryan.
Well, there you go. So I'm not going to.
We're playing matchmaker up here.
Okay.
What will look different about the State of the Union?
Is this the new eHarmony? Is the eHarmony for members of Congress?
Right.
Will it look different?
Sorry,
do you think it's going to? Will it look different to a way that the public will notice to have some of the intermingling on the House floor?
Well, look, I think it's symbolically important. As you know, we've got this habit of sitting on opposite sides of the aisle, but the big test will be whether we can work together to solve some of the problems that we've been talking about with respect to the economy and jobs, with respect to the deficit. I mean, many of us have been disappointed that despite the fact that jobs and the economy were clearly the #1 issue on voters' minds in this past election, the first item of business in the House has been to repeal the whole health care reform bill, and now they're talking about going off on other tracks as well.
All right, Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Democrat of Maryland, good luck getting a date, and let us know who you get.
Thanks a lot.
We're tracking every one of those. All right, that does it for this edition of Top Line. For Jonathan Karl, I'm Rick Klein. Twitter.com/Rick Klein. Twitter.com/John Karl. 1 day away from the State of the Union.